Welcome, reanimated fans, to this week's podcast. We are entering the Halloween season, the best season. However, we don't have a ton of news today. I'm H.A. Conrad, coming to you from Brooklyn with my intrepid co-host, as always, Stuart Tiffin. Hello, Stuart.
Well, hello, H.A. Conrad.
I love this time of the year, but I was sad we didn't have as much news today. But we're going to talk about a couple things, and then we're going to jump into our review of Dixon, Daryl and Carol, season 3, episode 4. But this little bit of news that we have is kind of exciting. So like there was actually a trailer for Bury the Dead, the Daisy Ridley film, and it did look pretty good. At least I was kind of excited to see it. Apparently, it's getting released in Australia and I think the UK a little bit earlier, and then we get to see it in the US in early January. So that's
Next year,
well, maybe we'll be able to see it.
it's been so long.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this.
And then I saw this other little news article, and I think you picked up on this too, just about a potential new, this is kind of interesting news. The Disney Plus has supposedly signed on for like an offshoot of the Riverdale series, which, um, Archie, Afterlife Archie, Archie in the Afterlife. And it's kind of in the same vein as the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And I know you didn't really get into that, right, Stuart? But I kind of enjoyed it.
I think I watched the first season of that show. What
Um,
I don't get is this I saw this on Undead Walking, just a normal zombie fan blog. And their headline is the zombie series that nobody saw coming is in the works. And like literally everybody was talking about the fact that Archie has a whole zombie subplot. When that show, I don't even know if it's still on the air, but when the whole Riverdale show it's
yeah.
like 5, 6 years ago, maybe more. Like that was constantly what people were talking about. So I
And
feel
it's
like this is a pretty weird headline to be like, nobody knew that there was a
so
zombie element to
kind of
this.
dumb. There's a slightly better and more succinct article from the Nerdist out there. But basically, they were talking about this ever since the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because these that had such a great reception that I think they were like, oh, we can do this, and there's some crossover between those two series. I'm a little surprised it actually hasn't happened a little earlier, but I'm excited to see it. I think it could be fun they kind of take the same idea. Though I will say Sabrina kind of, for me, went off the rails. I thought the first couple seasons was pretty strong, and then it kind of went nowhere for me anyway. Um, but I think, you know, and they did like a stub season or something like that. So I don't know but the first season was great. But this, the storyline is pretty popular. It seems interesting. So I'm excited to kind of see what they do with it, if they do anything with it. Interesting. I mean, not interesting, but see, everybody's like, oh, Disney Plus is the one picking it up. Well, yeah, and they're doing pretty well in the zombie realm. So I'm not shocked at this. But yeah, and then you saw some other thing, right? That you wanted to chat about.
Well, directly to do with the episode that we're talking about, so we can just start talking about La Justicia Fronteriza,
All right.
or frontier justice. Border justice is what they call it, is the translation in Wikipedia, but I don't think that's a saying. I think frontier justice is a saying in English. So I think they over translated it.
Mm,
Interestingly, this is the first episode this season directed by somebody other than Daniel Percival. Now it's Paco Cabezas. And it's also written by just Shannon Goss and not the showrunner. What's his name?
yeah.
The other guy.
Yeah, like that.
Uh, I would say that there's elements of this show that are maybe some other people with whom you say this and scoff, but it's starting to feel pretty janky, this show to me.
Yeah, to me there was a lot of things that happened in the show that I was just like, I don't know that you needed to do a lot of this. This was definitely supposed to be a pretty big set piece. And I don't know. I was not on board with the trend that this particular storyline is taking. I mean, we've got you know, the general storyline where Daryl's like, mind our own business, we're gonna do our own thing. And then he and Carol actually have a direct conversation about staying out of the whole business, and the whole business being the departure of Justina and Roberta's whole like, oh my gosh, where's she gone? And then, the clashes that his dad and, the Fed
Fede.
they have. And I think that one of the things, and this is again, you and I have talked about this so much, there's a lot of like subtext that never comes out, and they try to kind of lead the audience along. And that's the same thing that happens with like Antonio and Fede. And there's also the whole idea that Daryl and Carol have to get involved in these kinds of things. And I do like the fact that Daryl actually kind of pushes back on that front. Um,
Yeah, but Carol isn't having it.
she
It
isn't.
it just it feels like it's a foregone conclusion, dude. Daryl, you could try to complain, but this is like the antithesis to plot armor. It's that you you have to get involved, or the show like is a waste of money.
Well, yeah. The other interesting or just kind of funny thing to me is that there's like the whole prepping the boat to get, Daryl and Carol out to sea and that kind of thing. And the very like the immediate the education and navigation that the boat captain
Valentina,
is giving her, although I was very gratified and happy to see that the plan was not just to send them out on their own, was to have Cooper go with them. But
Cooper. Okay, no, no, pump the brakes.
what
Who the hell is Cooper? Where the
Cooper's
hell did Cooper come from? This is the first episode he shows up and he's just speaking English like, as an American because he's from California. He apparently was knows about Valentina, or Valentina knew about him and invited him to the boat fixing montage party. But this is the subject of Eric Kane's completely unhinged column in Forbes this week, where he's like, oh, walking the headline. I just have to read you the headline. The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon just killed off one of the best characters ever, and this one stings. And it's very tongue in cheek and very sarcastic. The entire column, I'd say it's like 5,000 words. Never goes out of character on this, waxing poetic about how great Cooper was as a character for such a long time on the show. I mean, I think he really has a point. I think that it's absurd that they introduced this character with zero context or background. A little bit is expositioned in by Valentina halfway through his couple of scenes before he is so expectedly killed. Like the whole time he was sitting there talking to Daryl, I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for the arrow sound. And then it literally happens, you know?
so I kind of enjoyed the fact that they did this because I thought it was hilarious. And
It's not supposed to be funny. It's
I did
funny.
not see the Forbes article, but I even while watching this episode, I was like, oh, where'd this dude come from? But like, and then it's just sort of assumed that he's like, I guess I just assumed he was one of Valentina's little like her little lineup of gents. And I was like, all right, that's fine. And it's to me it was very funny. I was not, and so I didn't see the article, but I just was like, this is like hilarious to me, and I kind of thought it was deliberate.
I
So
think that this was not deliberate. I think the jokes about Daryl and Carol being an item were deliberate, and they met those head on, and that was well done. This just felt in the realm of like ridiculously lazy writing. Like they couldn't even shoehorn this guy into another episode when they first met Valentina. That's all it would have taken. Show him in the background. And she could just say, "Look, I used to hate American tourists on my when I was a cruise ship captain. I've even got one of them with me now. Hey, Cooper, give him a wave, waves from the background. Now we're okay." But just to put him in this episode just for 5 minutes of like relationship building and then kill him off, it just feels so dumb.
oh, see, I was enjoying this because I liked the fact that first of all, they just drop him in, and secondly, they kill him off so quickly, and thirdly, that, Daryl and Carol now are without the navigation expertise that they were going to have. And let's be
Which we didn't know they were gonna have. Like we thought that they had that in the bag for 30 seconds of
yes,
the show.
that's what's so great. Like they're never going to get away. Like that's the whole point.
No, it's
This whole
not great,
point
HA. I don't know why you're taking away that this is great. I don't get it.
is it's great in a ridiculous way. So
Yeah, you're
anyway,
like you're this in that case, then what is this show turning into Sharknado for you, where you're like, it's so bad it's good?
maybe a little, maybe a little. And
That is, you know, that's like the death knell for a show for me. I
I know. You and I have different views on this point. You have to
because that's a genre, like that's a specific genre, which I know I hate. But The Walking Dead is not supposed to be that genre. It's supposed to have a different sort of take, like mostly serious with some moments of levity, mostly brought on by Beth singing a Tom Waits song.
anytime Tom Waits appears, you know the death knell's happening.
Well, that's true too.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that we've got this guy, we've got the introduction of the Primativos,
The
and then
reintroduction,
all
yeah.
and then all the well, the reintroduction, but the real we get to actually see more of them. But
Like also, can we just talk about that real quick? They're doing all this work. They're having this long montage on this beach where, Carol's learning how to use a sextant and Daryl and Cooper are learning how to tie knots and stuff. And the other two boyfriends are there too, and Tina. But they're none of them seem to be watching the forest. Like they know that this boat is a known and previously visited site by this gang
okay,
of baddies.
I'm gonna tell you why I think Cooper is such a funny
Oh
thing.
my God. Okay.
Because I think that I think they are referencing Jaws. I think he is Hooper. And they have this weird thing where he's even dressed a little bit like him with his little hat and everything. But also he does this whole knot tying thing with Daryl that is
Cooper
very
doesn't wear a hat. He just has red hair.
all right. Well, anyway, maybe I'm just stretching. Maybe
You're
I'm influenced by my love of Jaws. It's true. But
okay.
anyway, yeah, no, these primitivos, their whole thing. I mean, this is the thing I least liked least about this episode is like suddenly they're just kind of everywhere and they don't seem to be really, I don't know.
Well, this is a problem. They're a very half-baked faction. And they
Uh,
even talk about it in the after show. Did you watch the after show?
I didn't because I
The
watched that
guy
after.
who is yeah, the guy who is the showrunner, I forget his name now. Zabel is like, yeah, we wanted to have these people who are just like amoral and, a quasi army. But like that's a real problem when you're just like, yeah, we want to have these guys who are like the wolves, but with even less work going into them as the
Yeah,
wolves had.
it's like come on, man. I don't.
How are they organized? Like how are they feeding them? How do they exist? How do they have trucks and gas and catapults? But they're also just like a bunch of insane fanatic people who don't seem to have a guiding principle other than burn it all down.
Yeah, and yet they have incredibly like insane costumes. Do you know what I mean? Like it takes
Yeah.
a lot to like put some of this together. They're not just sort of like running around in canvas. These are like pretty detailed primitive costumes.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty problematic. Like is it fine at first glance if you don't think about it ever for more than 5 seconds? I mean, sure, I guess, but also at some point everybody's got to wonder about motive. And motive cannot be as simple as also the guy delivers this line in English. We're here to
yeah,
burn it all
that's
down.
like come on.
It's
Yeah.
so dumb.
Also
So
we
yeah,
also talk about the fact that Justina and uh um like Roberto are probably related. Like there's that
just
stuff.
because of how small this town is,
What? No, this is this whole mystery thing that they keep like talking about. I'm telling you that that is what it's going to be, is that they're related.
that would be pretty funny. I would actually totally be here for that. If it turns out
All
like,
knowing, all the knowing looks, they're absolutely
but
related.
nobody's stopping them hard enough then. If they're like
That's
sister
what I'm
cousins or
saying. It's like,
something.
dudes, really? You got to be related. This is the way that, like, you wouldn't. Anyway.
Yeah, because there's definitely an implication that Antonio messed around with Fede's
Mhm.
spouse, I'm guessing, right? Because there's some shade that he throws to Antonio while he visits Roberto at the terrible fence that they're working on. Like they keep going between the boat montage and this fence building project. It's the ugliest fence in Spain, I'm pretty sure. And Fede is like, dude, you're not in trouble. Just, don't be a jerk like some people. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's Antonio. And Antonio, when's the last time you even left the village? Like he's throwing very, very generic shade at him, but it feels like jilted lover type stuff, right? Like, or like you stepped out on my old lady or something.
Yeah.
And
And
none of these people have like none of the moms are around in the scenario, right? Like actually Justina's mother and father are not there.
true.
And they are referenced in this episode because there's a scene with Fede and Abuela where he's like looking at a photo potentially of Justina as a small child and a man who might be her dad. And he's like, having a moment. And Abuela's like, well, you promised them that you'd take care of her, and you did. Job done.
Yeah.
Abuela continues to be a pretty funny character. You had said an episode ago, like maybe the actions or the situation will turn her into a more sympathetic character for our young lovers, but I think that that does not seem to be the case here.
No, it does not. Um, and then we've got the Daryl and Carol thing and the jokes about their relationship by Valentina, but also, um, you know, Daryl and Carol very much get involved. Like the whole town is under siege. They manage to take out, and can we talk about this? Like this is the crazy thing. They take out everybody on the beach pretty much. Then they go and they pretty like the two of them pretty much like take out more people or more of these interlopers than anybody in the town seems to do. And then we've got these primitivos with not just like extraordinary firepower, but also like gassed jeeps, like multitudes of them.
Yeah.
And it just seems a little unlikely.
Oh yeah.
And for them to only have a motivation that they want to burn everything down just seems a little bit ridiculous. And then you've got Fede basically saying that this is why they need the Alcazar, that they know about it and whatever. Well, this doesn't seem to be a good deal for you all. You just got totally destroyed, even with the weapons that you supposedly had. And also, why didn't you bring those out earlier? Um,
Yeah, they should have been out earlier for sure. I mean, the Primitivos also don't lead with their catapults, which they 100% should have done instead of the frontal assault approach. But then maybe this just speaks to the fact that they're idiots and that they deserve to lose anytime they poke their head out of what cave they live in.
But it's
It's
also
it's
kind
very
of
silly.
weird that they are in this defensible town where, like, I would have imagined that they would have had a better plan in terms of taking the higher ground, because there's obviously higher ground and higher buildings to take here.
Yeah, they never, well, Fede does say this is unprecedented. They've never attacked us like this. We'd never even seen these guys before. So they'd never had their doors rammed in. They'd never needed to.
Right, but even when the little flamey walkers are going around, how about you figure out a better way to deal with them than the way you did? I
Yeah,
don't know.
at that point, the storytelling felt really kind of dumb at that point. I think
Yeah.
everybody was exhausted probably from the fact that they'd done a like 60 stuntmen action scene for the rest of the episode. And then at this point, they're just like poking flaming walkers with sticks.
Yeah.
Gustavo's still alive against all.
Yeah, we were totally wrong.
Yeah, well, so far, I still think he's on the chopping block. But you
Hmm.
know what? We couldn't say that Cooper was the next to die because nobody knew who he was until this episode.
Yeah.
And lots of the townspeople do die. I would say that some of the problem with this episode is how choppy. I mean, it's a huge scenario, but like I thought that the combat was over like four times.
Me too.
Like they'll because Daryl and Carol are coming from an opposite direction too. They're like catching up with the battle a lot of this episode, and so they're like constantly moving back toward the central plaza where the final battle does happen again. I feel like they'd already had one big fight scene there. That's where Fede gets stabbed. But then at night, there's another big fight scene there because more of the Primitivos arrive after their catapults start launching. I guess they couldn't launch them until it was nighttime so that they could actually show the glow in the sky of
Maybe.
these balls of flaming walkers.
Hmm.
But by the time that they do that and then they come back into town, there's only two trucks full worth of Primitivos left. There's like six of them left. And that's when, like you said, our Solaz del Mar people bring out their, it's kind of like a huacha, the dart gun or the arrow gun, and a hand cranked Gatling gun straight out of the 18th century or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Which miraculously doesn't kill any of the good guys. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a great episode, honestly. I want to like it because they obviously put a ton of effort into this fight scene, but it felt really clunky to me. And
Well, even the whole thing where at the end of it they have Roberto escaping one of the Jeeps. Obviously, he's going after Justina, and the idea that they were gonna like take him out and Daryl stops it is
and then it
in
becomes this weird dramatic moment in front of Fede's house. Yeah, I agree. It felt really weird.
yeah, and then the obvious thing happens, which is that Antonio and Daryl are gonna go out, and it's like, and then Fede is taunting Antonio for not being out, and again, there's subtext there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But obviously they go off and they're gonna go try to get Roberto and maybe Justina, and they kind of see this like very how like much ridiculousness is it with the evidence that they find that they've reunited. Oh my gosh, the compass necklace. Like, give
it's
me
yeah, a necklace and a. I wouldn't say that this looks like a crashed Jeep. It just looks like somebody from the production threw a bunch of car parts on the road, and then they turned over a vehicle. It like there were just elements of this that looked janky.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even say that this is a setting the table episode. I guess kind of for the next group of action. We're going to find out probably more about Alcazar. We're going to find out more maybe about the Primitivos. We're going to find out more about the fact that Justina and Roberta are probably siblings, or half siblings. At least that's my conjecture. I could be wrong. It just seems so like the very like the looks between them between Antonia and Fede, it seemed to really just be ridiculous. So again, we have our intrepid adventurers going off to kind of save the day. Um, but I
Well,
just
they're
don't know.
fully involved in other people's business at this point, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure that I understand Daryl's interest in it now, other than that I think when he saw that that one guy was going to shoot Roberto, maybe he became more interested in solving it. Like, what's changed for him?
yeah. I don't know.
Just that
Maybe
Carol really wants to do it.
yeah, and maybe that he likes Roberto. I don't know.
He kind of is. He doesn't want to do it until he hears that Carol's going, right? Is that
Yeah,
scene?
yeah,
And then he's like, okay, if you're going, I'll go.
yeah.
That's after the whole battle.
And
Jesus.
then what is the name of the other woman? She's gonna,
Paz.
yeah, she's gonna obviously join them to find her friend, her lady friend.
Yeah, she's kind of a badass in the combat. So is
Yep.
Gustavo, honestly. And I kind of expected him to be kind of a badass, but then get eaten.
But he's still doing it.
He's still
Gustav.
working on it. Yep. But him and Paz are both still back at Solaz at the end of this episode.
Oh, and Fede is obviously gonna turn to a zombie, right? We saw that little jerk at the end where he was like,
He
ah,
has a little cough. Yeah, he was stabbed like
a
through
lot.
his upper chest. I don't know how his lungs aren't full of blood.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough go. And maybe it's because they have a magical healer and she managed to fix him up. But I think he had a little bit of a like a Walker kind of jerk happening. So we'll have to see what happens. But I have my bets are that he turns at some point.
And
So
then when Carol, Daryl, and Antonio come back to Solaz Del Mar, it's just
yeah,
all zombies except for Paz
maybe
and
gonna
Gustavo.
I think Paz is gonna follow them, maybe. I don't know about Gustavo, but we'll see. Maybe they come back and Gustavo's still like holding down the fort. So um yeah.
Either way, it's like you can tell that this is not a great episode because I feel like we've already talked about the whole thing. Partially, it's because there's like 30 minutes of combat, and that, like, how much can you really say about it? Sure, they lit a bunch of people on fire. They did. It's a pretty big set piece, but it does feel clunky. And I could have sworn the fight was over 4 different times, but then they just run around a corner and they find more raiders murdering more townspeople.
And then there's also a lot of like running into very dark buildings without knowing what else is happening in there. Like
Yeah.
it happens multiple times, or down dark alleys and people yelling, help, help. And then, like Roberto goes to look for Alba.
Does he?
And
No, he's not. I think he just said that. He was trying to leave town
uh,
then. and but on foot. And then he saw the first catapult come down. And
Yeah.
frankly, like he's running back from the front gate when he sees and telling people to watch out when they start throwing the catapults. And I'm like, everybody should have known at that point that he was trying to skip town to go find Justina.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really believe that Justina volunteered to go. I mean, if Ede said she did, but I don't know. Part of me does not think she did.
Oh, that would be a twist.
Yeah, I think he just traded her because he needed some kind of leverage, and that was the only way to potentially keep the loyalty or to keep the deal going with the Alcazar folks. So I do somewhat believe what Roberto is saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like it it does not feel like maybe she went fully voluntarily. So, um, so we see a little bit more, I guess, in the next episode. I'm just hoping that it actually reveals a few more different things. Um, and maybe it will be a little bit less disjointed. So I don't know. This
Yeah.
is yeah. Um, and I'll still enjoy the ridiculousness of Cooper. So
No, dude. Well, next time we're going to be back with David Zabel and Jason Richmond as the writers.
yeah.
So for whatever reason, they were like, this episode and only this episode, we'll have a different writer and a different director. I'm not sure who the director is next time around.
And I mean, look, I don't know that they would ever do this, but I would really love it if Valentina ends up being on that boat with them. She's a fun character. I would like to see more of her, and I wish that she wasn't sort of wasted in this episode. So, um, I do think that she's more interesting than any of the other ones that we've been introduced to. So, so we shall see. Um, yeah, I can't believe we're kind of finished talking about this.
That's just not a good sign.
No, no, definitely not. So maybe we can hope that the next week's next week's episode or this coming week's episode is a little bit better.
Yeah. In the meantime, let us know what you thought about the Frontier Justice episode 4, season 3, Daryl Dixon. Are you going to miss Cooper as much as we are? Certainly not as much as HA. Nobody could miss Cooper that much.
Hoopa.
Send us an email, reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, and you can see the rest of our episodes online. We're on Spotify. We're on Podbean at reanimated.podbean.com.
Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.